dear students. Welcome to the live JEE solutions powered by Sri Sanjeevani on captv.net. So, today as per the analysis, it is known that around 10 lakh people have written the examination, that is JEE 2011 mains, and 2 more lakh are anticipating to be writing on the online platform. So, I am going to discuss the chemistry solutions, and the question paper was quite a bit simple compared to physics as well as mathematics. The chemistry paper is relatively easy, and the partition, the classification of the questions on the basis of various topics in chemistry is given as, you can see, my dear students, from physical chemistry the total of 40 marks questions are asked. From first year and second year they have balanced well. When it comes to the inorganic chemistry, the first year 24 marks, I mean to say the major stake goes to the chemical bonding, which happens to be the most important part of our first year JEE learning, and that contributed to the huge score in first year inorganic chemistry in comparison to the second year. And as usual, organic chemistry, not much into the deep had been dealt this year, but the emphasis was mostly upon the second year syllabus, right. After going through, now let us see the questions one by one. When it comes to the first question, look at it, my dear students. Which of the following complex species is not expected to exhibit the optical isomerism? As we all know that the criteria for the optical isomerism, whether we study inorganic chemistry or organic chemistry, is the lack of symmetry. On these grounds, if I randomly pick up one example wherein you will see that the central metal is what you call having the ligands such as AB, say it is completely deviating with the other bidentate ligand, say AB. You can see it is a chelating agent, and now we say that there is no plane of symmetry, hence this is considered to be optically active. You can see, my dear students, that the upper part is different from the lower because of A and B. When it comes to the question which is asked in JEE mains, you will see that if I take the trans isomer of what you call the ethylene diamine is present as a chelating agent, and you can see that there are 2 chlorines present. So, as per the possibility, we can say that this trans isomer, since it is having absolute plane of symmetry, is considered to be optically inactive or achiral. It is a simple thing, right. So, the answer for this question will be 2, that is CO En taken to Cl2, right. Now, let us move on to the next question. You can note down the trans isomer. I am not saying this is the trans isomer happens to be optically inactive. And the second question is again from the inorganic chemistry, chemical bonding based on the bond order, which of one of the following molecules is expected to exhibit the diamagnetic behavior. When it comes to the various options that are given, you see, when we talk about the homogeneous or homonuclear diatomic molecules, if I take C2, in case if I count the total number of electrons that are present over there, 12, and when I write the molecular orbital electronic configuration, I will write sigma 1s2. You can see C2 has total 12 electrons, sigma star 1s2, sigma 2s2, sigma star 2s2, then comes pi 2py, pi 2pz, that is the pi molecular orbitals. Total so far we have filled in 8 electrons, and there is a requirement of 4 more, and the total number of electrons are being filled. Now, we can see clearly that there is no any unpaired electron that is being present over there. So, therefore, we can consider this as a diamagnetic species. You can check through the rest of the options. You will find that there are unpaired electrons either in the bonding molecular orbital or in the antibonding molecular orbital, which are making them behave like a paramagnetic substances. Hence, this is a diamagnetic substance, and the option 1 will be the right answer for this question, my dear students. And you see the next question, you can see, you can note down that it is very simple. Simply we have followed the molecular orbital theory to answer this question. You see, my dear students, it's basic intermediate question. It is not JEE question at all. It comes to the other one related to the optical isomerism once again, but organic chemistry. That is, if I take the levorotatory 1-chloro-1-phenyl ethane in racemizes slowly in presence of small amount of SbCl5 due to the formation of what? You should know one thing clearly, that SbCl5 happens to be the electron deficient compound, right? The fifth group elements having a lot of empty d orbitals, which is making it what you call, take the electron from this compound what you had been talking about, 1-chloro-1-phenyl. I mean to say, I should keep a chlorine group here, and when I am not specifying its optical isomerism here, it has been clearly given, probably it is following the SN1 mechanism. That is the reason why there is a racemization. And when is a racemization, we can say that this reaction probably is following through the SN1 pathway, where your SbCl5 is acting as a Lewis acid to abstract the chlorine to give you a carbocation. So, it is a simple question once again, not speaking much about the optical isomerism aspect, but rather the stability of the carbocation always matters, because this is benzylic, right? It is a benzylic carbocation considered to be the stable one. That is the reason why we can anticipate the formation of a carbocation. Hence, we can say that option 3 would be the right answer for this benzylic carbocation, which also happens to be 2 degree, right? So, moving on to the other problem, you can see it is once again theoretical, right? So, given some reduction potential values of various species, and some of them are positive, whereas one chromium species is having the negative reduction potential value. You can identify there that metal ion is converting into metal, hence the reduction potentials are given. Now, when it comes to the reduction potential, if I take a particular metal ion, say whose oxidation state is pleasant, and if it is abstracting the electrons from the other, so that it can get converted into the M, and if I talk about its reduction potential, if this is high, we say that this has huge tendency to get reduced. So, when certain thing has huge tendency to get reduced, obviously we say that it has the ability to abstract the electrons, and on the basis of number of moles of electron it is abstracting and SRP values, we can say the one that is having the highest reduction potential value happens to be the species with the highest power of oxidizing as well. So, the maximum reduction potential value is given for the permanganate. We consider that to be the good oxidizing agent, particularly in the acidic or basic medium, right. So, option 4, that is MnO4 minus, happens to be the better oxidizing agent among all the given, right. Moving on to the 35th, you can see the question is related to, thermodynamics. Now, it is in first year syllabus. Earlier, it used to be in the second year. You know, my dear student, that it is given, this is problem number 33, this is 34, and when it comes to the problem number 35, you can see that the ideal gas is expanding, right, and there is a heat absorption of 208 joules. So, therefore, it is a clear indicative that as per the sign convention given by the IUPAC, it is a clear indicative that for the heat, if absorbed, we represent that with a positive sign, but when it comes to the work done, if it is during the expansion of the gas, that is from the low volume to the high volume, we use the sign convention to be negative, that is the work done during the expansion of the n moles of an ideal gas will be this, where volume final happens to be greater, right. So, now when you substitute all the values, right, had been given that the number of moles of the gas is 0.04, and accordingly you substitute R value and all that, and temperature is 310 Kelvin, natural logarithm of the final volume happens to be 50 ml, sorry, the final volume is 375 ml. So, when you calculate this as per the calculation which I have already done, you are getting this to be minus 208 joules. So, it is quite a bit simple compared to the complicated question or complex question which were asked earlier, right. So, plus 208 joules and minus 208 joules would be the Right answer, that is option 1 appears to be more relevant for this question, right? I guess you are copying the solutions, right? It comes to the question number 36. It is related to the stoichiometry, volumetry rather. The molarity of a solution obtained by mixing of the HCl and another HCl will be. You see, my dear students, we should understand that when we are mixing, when we are dealing with the problem that are related to the mixing, we better convert the molarity terms into the moles and divide that with the resultant volume. That is, you use a formula M of for the resultant is equal to M1 V1 plus M2 V2 divided by V1 plus V2. That is nothing but the number of moles divided by total number of moles. Initial molarity, initial volume. Molarity into volume is moles of the initial substance. Moles of the final substance divided by final total volume. So here it comes to this, when it comes to this problem, first HCl is 0.5 molar into 750 its volume. The second one is 2 molar. Its volume happens to be 250 divided by total volume is 1000 ml. That is, when you simplify this, you will see that the answer is 0.875 molar. It's a simple question, my dear students. It's a simple basic stoichiometry question. You can see, even if the normality is specified, you can write down the same thing. If the resultant normality is given, N1 V1 plus N2 V2 divided by V1 plus V2. Right? After 36, move on to 37. It's again general organic chemistry, that is acidity, basic strength related question. And we all understand one thing, that electron withdrawing group increases acidic strength no matter what it is. So when I say electron withdrawing groups, I must specify whether it is -I or -M showing group. I mean electron pulling with respect to the resonance or electron pulling with respect to the electronegativity difference. Right? It comes to that, when I take this option, I have a better electron withdrawing group by virtue of the -M effect happens to be the highest. Then comes chlorine, which indeed is a better electron withdrawing group because of the exhibition of the -I. We should understand that it also shows +M, but the +M is subsided by the -I effect in case of chlorine. Next comes your electron releasing groups. Lesser the electron releasing groups, more will be the acidic strength. You can see, my dear student, despite there is a -I, there is always +M, which happens to be dominating factor in case of OCS3, because it can borrow if it donates from the CS3, whereas that is not there in chlorine. That is why this situation. And when it comes to CS3, it's a +I showing group. Electron releasing will hamper the acidic strength, whereas electron withdrawing will enhance the acidic strength, right? So moving on to the next problem, 38 answer should be, one second. So you can see this is 3 greater than 1 greater than 2 greater than 4, that is option 3 happens to be the correct answer for this, right? Next, it comes to the problem number 38. Yeah, it's a very simple basic intermediate question, where we all know that we remember this, that when it comes to the RMS, average and most probable velocity, the ratio is being given as 1:0.92:0.81. Now in this case, what they have done is they have asked in a little bit different order. I mean, you have been asked first the most probable velocity, which had been denoted as C star. Then you had been given the mean velocity or average velocity, then the RMS velocity. Now when you take, when you take 0.81 as the reference and divide all the equation, you will get simply 1:1.128. It's very simple. You have to just do the calculation just with respect to this, and you have to do, you have to divide the equation. 1.128:1.225 happens to be the correct answer after dividing this entire equation with 0.81. We know this ratio, we have to just rewrite the ratio, that's all, right? It's a simple arithmetic question. Now the answer is 3 for this, right? Move on to the other problem. can see that the questions are pretty simple so far which have been asked, and most of them are theoretical as well. There's not much this thing involved. You can see it's another problem from the second year physical chemistry where the rate of reaction doubles when temperature is changed, and you have been asked to find out the activation energy. Is a popular question which is very frequently asked, for which we use Arrhenius integrated form. Right, this is positive because we are increasing the temperature. This can never be negative, so these two are positive, so therefore K2 will be greater than K1. That is what is given in the question. That is, when you are writing the ratio, that is given as rate constant, nothing but the rate, it is given as 2. But to find out the activation energy, just check out the options. The options clearly indicate that you have to get your answers in kilojoules. So you will write the R value in kilojoules into T2 minus T1. The temperature variation is, you can see, 310 and 300. Right, that's all. So finally, the EA, the activation energy value after calculation will turn out to be 53.6. We have done the calculations already for some of the questions, although it was in a hurry. So the answer for this question is 1, right? So for this problem number 31, the answer is 1. Now, after copying this, let's move on to the problem number 40. It's little, complicated compared to the problem that I previously asked, right? I mean to say, you have a compound with the molar mass 180 and is acylated with CS3COCl to get a compound with the molecular weight 390, then the number of amino groups. Now, you see, my dear students, if you take any compound, say there is some R group attached to it, and there are X number of NH2s that are present, right? In that particular compound, he is asking you the number of amino groups, so let's assume it as X, and it is being acylated. You should understand here, when I am acylating, I am removing H from here and Cl from here. That is, I will be removing HCl, obviously X moles, because for X, I will be requiring X moles of acetyl chloride to get the protection done. After completing this part, we have to really understand that the molecular weight of the compound was somewhere around 180, and which is increased to 390. So you have to count for the difference in molecular weight. You can see that there is a difference in molecular weight absolutely due to the introduction of, you can see, my dear students, COCS3 group is recently being introduced into the NH2 at the cost of what? The hydrogen. So you can see 210 is due to the contribution of COCS3, and you see one COCS3 contributes how many units of mass? If I take this, you can see C2, that is 24 plus 3 plus oxygen happens to be, that is 43 units, right? So I have added 43 units, and approximately that means 5 COCS3 worth if I take it to consideration. This is turning out to be in C215, right? You might be wondering about this 5, but please understand that here every time we need to add one proton which we are removing from the NH2 group. That is, when I remove that 5 hydrogens which are accountable for this, you will see that I will be getting the amount that is calculated on par. So the answer for this problem should be 2, that is, there are 5 NH2 groups that are present in this compound, right, my dear students? So the answer for this problem is 5, X is equal to 5, in which the option given in 2. Here I am discussing the code P, in which the option is given as 2, for which answer is 5, right? Don't get confused. Now it comes to the other problem. I hope you are copying, so I am leaving enough space for this. So when it comes to the problem number 41, it's a clear indicative the problem as soon as you move on, you will understand that there is little related to the D and A block elements paramagnetic behavior, because you can see that they have straight away moved from left to the right in the periodic table in the D block 3D series. So, what I mean to say that you have been given V plus 2, if I write V plus 2 and the remaining elements, manganese and iron, you can see every time the number of electrons is increased, rather number of odd electrons is increased, which causes the increase in the extent of magnetic moment, which is calculated by using this equation. So, it is a simple question. Just by looking at it, you can clearly say that when I am increasing the value of n, obviously the extent of paramagnetic character increases. So, appropriately matching option will be 1, right. For the problem number 41, it is the paramagnetic character which is said to be increasing gradually from vanadium to the iron. Next, moving on to problem number 42. It is a simple base equation. Again, you know that this when it comes to the stability of carbocations, we say that benzylic is stable by virtue of the resonance that is possible, which is greater than another resonance stabilized species, allylic, and then comes your simple 1 degree carbocation. So, this should be the order which is given as 3 greater than 2 greater than, 3 greater than 1 greater than 2, that's 3, 1 and 2, which is option 4, right. It is once again the basic level question. Moving on to the next one. See, simple balancing based question. You can see here x moles of MnO4 minus plus y moles of C2O4 minus 2 plus I guess z moles of H plus, giving rise to x moles of Mn plus 2 plus 2y moles of CO2 plus z by 2 moles of H2O. Now, when it comes to this, we use simple n factor one does to balance this very simple equation. I mean to say, here you can see the oxidation state of manganese is changing from plus 7 to plus 2. The change in oxidation state is 5 units. And here carbon is changing from plus 3 to plus 4. One carbon changing from plus 3 to plus 4, there are 2 carbon that are undergoing the change. So, we call this as what? N factor. So, you have to understand one thing very clearly, that if n factor ratio is 5:2, the mole ratio will be a flip flop. I mean to say that the mole ratio will be reverse of that. Now, if you understand these two, you can write in the other means. I mean, you can see here clearly that you got the value of x, that is 2Mn plus 2. You got the value of y, 2 into y. And don't worry about this water element, because you will see clearly when you try to balance for the oxygens. I am going to say 8 plus 20, 28 are present this side, whereas 20 are present this side. So, you will write 8 and 16 in order to balance this equation. So, you can see this is a balanced chemical equation, first year question. So, basically it indicates that the coefficient, I mean x, y and z clearly are 2, 5 and 16. So, for problem number 43, which we have solved, the answer is 3, right. Moving on to the next problem. So, 44, which of the following is the wrong statement? You can see it is given NOCl and NO2 minus are not isoelectronic. Obviously, they are not isoelectronic. You can see there NOCl has 7 plus 8 plus 17, that is 32 number of electron, whereas NO2 minus does not have that many. Next, O3 molecule is bent. Yeah, obviously it has bent structure. Ozone is violet black in solid state. Yeah, that's true. But ozone is diamagnetic gas, which is a wrong statement. Here you have been asked to find out the incorrect statement, and the incorrect statement for this question will be 4, because O3 is paramagnetic substance like O2. So moving on to the next problem. A gaseous hydrocarbons gives upon combustion 0.72 grams of water and 3.08 grams of CO2. Empirical formula is something that you have to calculate, right? It's practical organic chemistry based question. Comes into your first year itself. Purification and classification of organic compounds has certain questions based on this empirical formula. In your first year you might have studied, but these require little calculations because the weights of CO2 and water are given. So you assume that compound as CX HY. We don't know what hydrocarbon it is, whether it's alkane, alkene or alkyne. So we cannot assume with respect to the N's that you know about, N to N plus 2, N to N. You can't do that. You have to take the simple ratio as X is to Y. When you are burning this, you are getting CO2 and water, right? So when I balance this equation, you will be getting this as X plus Y by 4. You can see 2X plus Y by 2 times of hydrogen is present and rest is all balanced. So when it comes to the weight of water being calculated, 0.72 grams, sorry, and weight of CO2 is 3.08 grams. Now since the weight is given, it is customary to calculate the number of moles by dividing it with the molecular weights of the respective substances, and you will see that the number of moles of CO2 versus H2O as per this is X is to Y by 2. Now when you take the ratio of these two, and you just simply find out the ratio of these two, you will get X is to Y is equal to this much, and finally X is to Y you will get as 7 is to 8. So therefore this compound empirical formula can only be taken as C7H8, which happens to be option 4 for this paper, for this code, right? It's very simple. Simply we have calculated the number of moles and took the ratio based on these stoichiometric coefficients, right? Moving on to the next question, once again from the first year portion, that is chemical bonding. Once again from molecular orbital theory itself. You can see how many questions are asked from the molecular orbital theory. It's although very simple. Which of the following pairs of molecule or ions, both the species are not likely to exist? Not one but two you have to find out. You know that if bond order equals 0, that molecule do not exist. You can see that you have this species like H2 plus 2, for which the total number of electrons happen to be 0. The electron itself is 0. And He2, for which you will be writing the molecular orbital diagram where the total 4 electrons are distributed equally in bonding as well as anti-bonding molecular orbital. So when you take the difference and try to divide it with 2, since the number of electrons are same, the bond order happens to be 0. Hence it is the right answer. I mean to say H2 and H2 plus 2, that is option 3, right? Moving on to the next problem. They do not exist because bond order happens to be 0. Yeah, this is very simple. Which of the following exist as a covalent crystals in the solid state? Now you see there are a few options which are complicated. It seems to be you should have little theoretical knowledge in organic chemistry, right? Otherwise there is a possibility of ambiguity. Here some of the students are asking me over the phone that sulfur could be the right answer. But you should understand that sulfur most of the times at 91.5 degrees Celsius happens to be the amorphous. So sulfur monoclinic, sulfur rhombic exist, but not as good as what you call the silicon. So at room temperature, if I say at room temperature, when we talk about the covalent solids, I mean it would be either 2 or 3, but since the covalent crystals is being asked, you know that this has a unique property. I mean to say the sulfur has a unique property of what you call getting catenated, right? And it exists as a molecular this thing, but I can't say I mean that in every case, but at a particular temperature only this can exist as a molecular solid. Hence, for this question, for the problem number 47, sulfur should be the appropriate answer, whereas silicon is most probably the metallic crystal. Next, when it comes to the other one, 48, it's again theoretical question. You know that synthesis of each molecule of glucose in photosynthesis involves 18 molecules of ATP. So, theoretical questions, 18 molecules of ATP are required for the photosynthesis, right. So, moving on to the next, both are very theoretical questions. Moving quickly on to the problem number 49, the coagulating power, surface chemistry related problem, simple problem. This is something based on what you call Hardy-Joule rule, which suggests that the coagulating power is directly proportional to the charge of the electrolyte, for the reason that since the colloid being taken has the ions As plus 3 and S minus 2. This is a high charge component colloid, hence we give priority to the charge of the electrolyte instead of what you call the size of the ions, right. On that perspective, you should say that the right answer should be Al plus 3 Ba plus 2 and then Na plus. That is the appropriate answer for this question, happens to be option 2, right. Al plus 3 Ba plus 2 and then Na plus. It's simple basic concept which is given in your IP textbook, my dear students. Moving on to the 50th one. It's again theoretical question. Most of the questions in this series appear to be continuously theoretical. So, in question number 50, he is talking about the ionization enthalpy, and you know that ionization enthalpy depends upon the factors like size, effective nuclear charge, electronic configuration and shielding effect. And basing on this electronic configuration and size, you should say that argon, since it is being a noble gas, expected to be having what you call the highest ionization enthalpy. Then as we know, size increase, the ionization potential value decreases. So, therefore, next comes sulfur, then selenium, and then keeping in mind all the cumulative effect, then comes your calcium and barium. More size is said to be having the least ionization potential, my dear students. So, option 3 seems to be correct for this problem number 50, right. Moving on to the next question, see atomic structure related one, and you have been given the equation related to the first ionization, the energy of the electron in the first Bohr orbit. The energy is given as this thing, and you have to calculate the wavelength, and you know that when the electron is making a transition from the higher to lower, it is supposed to liberate the energy equivalent to the energy difference of these two shells, right, which we calculate as photons, whose energy that c by lambda is being taken as minus 2.178 to z square into 1 by, if I take this minus outside, 2 square minus 1 by 1 square. I mean, when I substitute this equation, when I substitute what you call the value of h, if I am calculating in joules, then light velocity, I am anticipating to calculate the lambda, and you have been given that it is a hydrogen atom. Hence, when I square that, I will be getting those values, and lambda after your calculations happens to be, you can see it is somewhere around 816 into 10 to the power minus 7. It's a simple question, my dear students, which you do in your basic intermediate, right. You don't have the examination figure, because we every time instruct that the questions that are being asked in JEE mains especially are from the NCERT textbook or your IPA textbook only. If you study them properly, there are definitely possibilities of cracking this examination very, very easily. I can say chemistry wise it's much easier than the previous IEEE question papers. This is little tricky, 52, and you see you have got a compound whose molecular formula is given, where if I take bromine equivalent to the hydrogen and if I calculate the double bond index, what I mean to say that if I calculate the number of rings and pi bond that are present, you use the equation, right? 2 into number of carbons, that is 16, minus number of existing hydrogens. So you can see that this is clearly indicative that, I mean, 2n plus 2, my dear students, 2n plus 2 minus existing 2 into 8, 16 plus 2, 18, minus 10 divided by 2, not 2n minus 2, it is 2n plus 2, appearing to be 4. And you can see here that carbon hydrogen ratio indicates that it's a derivative of benzene, and all the options have the derivatives of benzene. And when it comes to the comparison between the various options, that is option 1 has the group set meta, option 2 has the group set ortho, which is option 3 has group set para, and option D, I mean 4 has at ortho. You can see that it's clearly given in the question that it is something you are getting a dicarboxylic acid by virtue of the vigorous oxidation on this particular compound, which is easily subjected to the dehydration. That means you are easily able to remove water from them. That means it is definitely the ortho derivative. So out of ortho derivatives we have option 2 and 4. That means I have ruled out option 1 and 3. And in option 2 there is little pertaining factor is that this bromine. You can see in option 2 the bromine is directly connected to the benzene ring, right? I am writing here option 2. If you see this, you will understand that this bromine has an immense resonance with the benzene ring, which develops here partial double bond character, due to which the bond energy is high because of this resonance, which is stabilizing the bromine and its lone pairs. So therefore this is not so easy to break its bond with what you call the benzene. So that means the remaining option, if I monitor, you can see here clearly that this is relatively easily losing AgBr, because once if this Ag plus cracks out to this bromine, you will be getting a carbocation which happens to be the stable one. So here there is easy possibility of the formation of pale yellow silver bromide precipitate, right? So on this perspective we say that the right option for this previous problem should be option 4. Right, you can see clearly that it is benzylic and everything is going on good. 53, and when it comes to the next problem, it's given that 4 successive members of the first row transition elements are listed below with the atomic numbers. Which one of them is expected to have highest reduction potential value, I mean highest tendency to get converted into M plus 2. See, this is again based on the simple fundamentals. Here your intentions are to convert this M plus 3 into M plus 2. In that process you will be adding 1 electron. Now you randomly pick up any this thing, right? You have been given that manganese has 25 electrons. I mean if you randomly pick up any of the atom and write the electronic configuration, up to argon 18 electrons I have covered, then you have CD5 and 4s2. When you write this is how you are going to write its electronic configuration, right? So now you have to write the oxidation state plus 3 here. Over here if I write plus 3, that means I will be removing the electron from 4s as well as 3d, by which it will become 0. That means the electrons from this are being evacuated, and also from here, right? So now you want to add one electron to it. Where? Right? At this particular position. By virtue of which it will become half filled and acquires stability. So the right option for this problem is 2, because it is willing to get converted into. Reduction potential value will be naturally on the higher side, right? Moving on to the next one, that is problem number 54. Little complex, but the concepts are never varied. As I told you, upon dilution, the equivalents do not change. This is the simple concept involved in solving this problem. So suppose you see you have taken 1 liter of HCl whose pH is equal to, I mean to say the concentration of HCl, I mean I can say equivalents or moles, anything you can apply, right? So concentration of H plus, because pH is negative logarithm of concentration of H plus, which is equal to 1, that is pH is 10 to the power minus 1. This is molarity and 1 liter. So therefore if I take number of moles of H plus, molarity into volume initially is 10 to the power minus 1 into 1, that is 1 by 10, and this is initial situation. Finally, what happened here, the concentration of H plus has gone up to 10 to the power minus 2, and let us say here volume of solution equal to V liter. But as I told you that the number of moles are going to remain the same, right? Initial will be equal to final, that is 1 by 10, which is equal to molarity into volume in liter. So when you work out this, you will get volume of 10 liter, but of which 1 liter already HCl we have. So therefore how much water we need to add? 9 liter of water needed to be added. So for your problem, the right answer will be option 4, that is 9 liter of water need to be added, problem number 54. Then move on to the other problem, 55. First ionization potential value of sodium is given, then electron gain enthalpy. It's the simplest question that can be asked. What I mean to say, he is asking you sodium gets converted into Na plus and electron. Here suppose if the energy supplied is this much, when I do the reverse, obviously energy is released, because we know these two always lie in this ratio. So it happens to be that the right answer for this problem number 55 is 2, right? That is minus 5.1 electron volt. Next question, organic compound A upon heating with B produces something. You have this option, you can see clearly that there are only 2 carbon atom remaining in the final compound. So therefore I am opting for something, because you know that when I heat this with ammonia, you know I am eliminating here water, by virtue of which I will be getting CH3, CH2, CONH2. So I have taken propanoic acid, wherein I am getting propanamide, which is B, and when I treat this with bromine in presence of KOH, that is Hofmann bromide reaction, where this part will be eliminated to give that product, right? So option 4 seems to be the correct answer for this problem number 56, that is CS3 CH2 COOH. Next question, my dear students, it's once again chemical bonding based question. You see how wonderful it is that if you study chemical bonding very well, you will be scoring as many marks as possible. It's a simple topic and most important topic, right? So 57, you have Li2, Li2 minus and Li2 plus is talking about the stability of these intermediates, right? When it comes to the stability, you should know that bond order equal to 0, that do not exist. Bond order equal to fraction, unstable. So keeping in view these two, when I compare Li2, the total number of electrons that are present out there are 6. So when I write sigma 1s2, sigma star 1s2, sigma 2s2. Now when I calculate the bond order for this bond pair, number of electrons in the bonding molecular orbital minus anti-bonding molecular orbital divided by 2. That is, this happens to be non-fractional value. There is a one bond possible between these two ions, these two atoms. Hence, this happens to be the most stable one. So Li2 considered to be the most stable, and on the basis of that itself we can answer. Whereas you can see here more electrons in the anti-bonding molecular orbital. That is the reason why you kept there. You see, the options are quite a bit simple, that if you understand that this is the right answer, no need to compare these two. Straight away only one option has lithium 2 dominating over the rest of the two, right? So moving on to the answer, option 2 is the right answer for this. We are discussing code P. In that, the right option is option 2. Then please move on to the next one. Yeah, something based on Lucas reagent. We know Lucas reagent is used to test the presence of the alcohols, and when it comes to the alcohols, when you use dry HCl in presence of anhydrous ZnCl2, you anticipate the formation of alkyl chloride, which is a oily liquid or gel. So this proceeds through, I mean, if I am adding this ZnCl2, or indeed if I take another electron deficient species, if I anticipate this to form a carbocation, I will say this reaction overall is going to take place in SN1 pathway, where the carbocations are produced, and as far as stability is concerned, so if this follows SN1, it should be 3-degree alcohol. That is tertiary alcohol by SN1 pathway. Right. Then moving on to the next one, that is question number 59. It's a, rather than chemistry, I can say it's a general knowledge based question. That is, the gas leaked which took the death toll to so many, more than 200, due to that mishap which occurred in Bhopal, and methyl isocyanate is responsible for this. I mean, option 1 for problem number 59, methyl isocyanate, that is CH3, NCO is responsible, which is highly poisonous and easily mixes with the air. And then moving on to the last problem of this discussion, yeah, it's something which is based on the non-stoichiometric compounds, right? So you have compound, I mean 0.980. You should understand here that if I have some lattice which has this type of arrangement, right? Suppose in that some of your cation is missing from its lattice position due to the thermal agitations usually. To compensate that, 2 of the lower side cations will be oxidized to the higher oxidation numbers, right? So therefore, here what is happening, that in order to maintain the electrical neutrality, we should understand that here electrical neutrality is being maintained. So in order to maintain the electrical neutrality, when one cation is lost, simultaneously 2 cations are converting into that, right? So now that means for every 100 oxides, there are 98 M plus 2 and M plus 3. In that, if I assume that there are X number of M plus 2, there will be 98 minus x number of plus 3, but electrical neutrality is maintained, that is x into plus 2 plus 98 minus x into plus 3 is equal to 100 into minus 2, that is overall the charge is neutral. Total positive charges, total another unit positive charges is equal to total negative charges. So you have to solve for x. Then as per the question you have been asked to find the fraction of, I guess it is not properly printed. If I check through another question paper, we have been asked to find the percentage of m plus 3 out there, which we took as 98 minus x divided by total is 98 into 100. Upon calculation of this is turning out to be 4.08%, if I am correct to my calculations, right? So this is the entire paper, my dear. So the questions are very simple. This paper is very encouraging that you need to stick to the basics, study the things properly, and suppose if you have done this paper well and confident about this IIT, please improve the standard of your preparation. Or if you are not that optimistic in this exam, that means I mean to say that if you are not sure that you will be crossing this 100 mark in this, then in that case you better concentrate on BITSAT as well as the other examination like VIT, SRM, MSET, right? Thank you so much. Thank you and all.